Gilbert Rodriguez, 2091 East Norwood Drive. When did our school system change? We have 5 children and have lived in Oak Creek for going on 12 years. The main reason we decided to move here was because of how highly rated the school system was. For the first couple of years, it lived up to its expectation. However, there have been a steep decline. The district used to prioritize education, but those days are gone. Now, sports are more important. There's a boy that is a great track athlete that failed the class. He was about to be ineligible, but coaches pushed and compromised with the teacher, and he was given a D- with the expectation that he needed to go to tutoring and retake a few tests. I'm aware of a graduate that was allowed to play football even with multiple failing grades and missing assignments. He ultimately graduated, but that wasn't earned, that was gifted. That has taught many that rules and guidelines are just words and are flexible with no consequence. That was just the beginning. We know of a student who had a relationship with the teacher in the 9th grade center. The teacher still works for the high school, just not in the NGC. We have boys who are verbally and sexually abusive towards girls, and now we have books and symbols that push agendas that have no place in schools. Where do we draw the line? Kids aren't held to a higher standard because our schools have lost their identity. School to me used to be a safe place for kids to go and get an education, but now it's a place for grooming and to push social agendas, where the good kids are shunned for reporting the atrocities they're exposed to by guests, children, and staff. For example, my daughter has Tourette's. In class, it causes uncontrollable tics, including one that causes facial expressions. Her substitute asked her, and I quote, "Do you want to come in front of the class and show everyone those silly faces you're making?" Her whole class stood up for her because last year she made a presentation to explain her tics. My daughter was distraught and went to the principal, Paul Kenwood, and her teacher to report it, and it was brushed off. She felt as though the people she should be able to go to didn't care. Just in the past week, my first grader had a guest from the public library come in. This obvious man had long painted nails and a dress. My first grader realized something didn't seem right and came home and told me about it right away. The handout that he brought home had images of LGBTQ images. In addition, the racial issues, such as the video that has circulated social media with a group of boys calling another boy the N-word repeatedly, among other insults. My suggestion to the school board is to get the school back to basics. Teach math, science, English, and history. Maybe branch off and teach money management and entrepreneurship. Be stern in consequence, and finally keep our kids safe and let us as parents raise them with the morals and views we see fit.
Jen? Is there a Jen? Okay.
I'm Jen, Oak Creek. I did some investigating on the administrative proposal. on signage and books. I found that much of this direction is coming from the Wisconsin Department of Instruction. The DPI declares that anyone can counsel our children on their behavior, sexual, social, and emotional health without parental knowledge. Following the DPI's guidance is usurping parental rights and in violation of Wisconsin State Statute 455. Specifically, license required to practice and licensure of psychologists. The DPI is providing unlicensed therapy recommendations and modalities to unlicensed teachers to provide to our children. The state statute indicates that no person may engage in the practice of psychology or attempt to do so without a license. A license requires a doctoral degree in psychology from an accredited program. I also found some aberrancies with the licensing of our district student counselors with the respect to state statutes. We, the people of Wisconsin, created the state's constitution that created the legislative branch. That which is created does not supersede its creator, according to the rule of composition. When the legislative branch votes for anything that contradicts the supreme law of the state, that vote is invalid and repugnant. Simply stated, the DPI certifying counselors creates a legal and temporal impossibility because the DPI cannot create its own licensing laws that contradict and subvert the supreme law of the state. Your compliance with the DPI represents the application of lawless, non-educational services and misuse of our tax dollars. Therefore, taxing citizens for these services violate the due process clauses, the privileges and immunities clauses, and the takings clause of the United States Constitution. Going forward, please immediately prohibit and seize all guidance from the Wisconsin Department of Instruction. All of it. They have proven they are harming our children and usurping our rights. The DPI's website includes imaginary visualizations about children as young as 7 years old. It talks about children feeling uncomfortable sexual feelings, difficulty making decisions, cutting, suicidal thoughts. These are all serious mental health crisis scenarios that need immediate parental intervention and or professional treatment from a licensed therapist.
10 seconds.
Improper counseling of that child can result in lifelong physical and mental health consequences. And I'm speaking on my rights to a governing board, and I'd ask for at least one more minute.
That's it. 3 minutes. Thank you.
She's giving me her time?
No. That's it.
No?
Thank you. Andrea.
Andrea, 3435 East Rhine Road.
Thank you.
Volume into the room.
Go ahead.
Hi. I am a recent graduate of Oak Creek High School, and I'm now a junior at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. I'm here to address a growing issue in our schools. Now, why does a UW-Oshkosh student think she knows about Oak Creek Franklin School District? Well, let me give you a little context to where my first problem was. I'm a resident advisor, or RA, in our residence halls at UW-Oshkosh. Before school started, we had 2 weeks of training to learn how to resolve resident issues and overall be in charge of our dorm safety and security. But instead, we spent 90% of our time focusing on things that happen less than 1% of the time. 90% of my training, around 72 hours, of presentations of microaggressions, unconscious bias, and how privileged or marginalized I am from the person sitting next to me. After all the students moved into my residence hall and I was on duty my first night, you know what I did? Well, that's the thing. I didn't know what to do. This was 2 weeks, approximately 80 hours, dedicated to listening to this so-called training, and I don't even know how to do my actual everyday job with simple problems such as unlocking resident dorms if they lost their key. And after a whole year of being an RA, although I did solve conflict among residents, none of them involved race, gender, sexual orientation, or ethnicity. So what does that tell you? This told me that colleges have created this false assumption that everyone around me is discriminating against you because of what you look like and who you are. That's a lie. Everything that I was taught was a lie. And I've lived it. I've lived in the shoes of a campus worker and gone through their rigorous training that applies to about 0% of actual problems on campus. So I'm telling you this today because these things are happening in our colleges and are seeping into our high schools, middle schools, and even our elementary schools. I know this is affecting our kids because I used to be one of them. I went through the Oak Creek Franklin School District from kindergarten through 12th grade. And some children and young adults that I grew up with did transition at a young age or considered themselves a part of the LGBTQ community. And yet every kid treated every kid with respect. And it's just that, because we're kids and we were all taught respect, not labels. Only in my last couple of years of school did I begin to see the creation of these made-up problems. The beginning of finding your identity was the beginning of division among my classmates. The more you focus on labeling people, the further you get from unity. I don't believe it's appropriate to include these personal matters in such public places like schools. We need to put a line in between education and private interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Atkinson.
Chris Atkinson, Caledonia, Wisconsin. What would you say if I told you I identified as a woman? Some of you might say, okay, whatever, to each her own. Most of you wouldn't care. Some people would applaud me and call me brave and encourage me to come out and express myself for who I am. Now, what would you say if I told you I identified as a black woman? Now we're stretching it. Think about that. Am I a black woman? Who are you to tell me that I am not who I say I am? I also identify as your daughter too, and I'm going to need some allowance money. A poster I discovered at Edgewood Elementary last week by famously known trans activist Laverne Cox on dominant display to the children at the hand washing sink says, "We are not what other people say we are who we say we know ourselves to be, and who we are what we love. However, I am not a black woman. I identify as a 12-year-old black girl that I am attracted to other kids like me." Why do we teach kids to think like this? It's weird to affirm them in adults and worse in kids. You would say that all of this is inaccurate and that you'd be correct to say so. Should you pander to my evidential psychological disorder and encourage me just because you'd be a hypocrite to agree on some of the things I said but not the others? Shouldn't we treat each other how they want to be treated? That's sarcasm. Should I force you to use my pronouns through unconstitutional compelled speech? Or should the schools just stick to education and not encouraging sexual identities in children? The idea that LGBTQ children need affirmation to be safe and prevent them from killing themselves, as quoted by District Superintendent in the recent Books and Symbols Task Force, is a dangerous lie. The LGBTQ data on sexualizing children, guidance, and recommendations from the Wisconsin DPI is given by known activists and should be seen for what it is, a biased attempt to modify children's behavior. Conditioning children through their environment through rewards, affirmation, and encouragement on issues that violate others' religious beliefs and personal values. Not all teachers are trying to do this, but there are some loud activists that are forcing trendy social contagions onto the minds of children by displaying multiple LGBTQ stickers, posters, flags, images on most of the doors I've seen in the middle school and the high school with the activist organizations on them. I love my gay friends and family. They love me and they know that I love them. They're smart enough to understand that these efforts to remove this political activism is not an attack on anybody's character. It's a requirement of the schools to remain neutral on religious and political issues. I've heard countless disturbing stories from parents in the district, and they're sick of their kids being conditioned. The task force was a waste of time, and we didn't have any substantial conversation as a group that addressed actual issues. We didn't agree collectively on what our purpose was, and we came at an impasse. So multiple offices are littered with this kind of stuff, and I'm going to cut to the bottom, but I think you guys should adopt a similar resolution to the Waukesha School District, the parental rights thing. I've sent you emails on it, and we need to not bombard the minds of our children with these images all day long and try to condition their behavior.
Councilor Glass. That's Ms. Glass. Three minutes.
I'm Dotsa Glaz. If you walked into any organization's building that has wall displays with a single theme on them, you'd assume the organization was promoting that theme. What if that library had 80% of their front-facing books with the same theme? You'd assume they were promoting an agenda. You'd be right. Advertisers have known for decades that whatever people perceive with their senses gets placed in their minds and stays there while that element is present. The elements we find in our schools are stickers and books with a sexual theme. It's the LGBT theme, which is clearly sexual in nature and also political. These stickers and books are reminders, effectively advertisements, that subconsciously keep the topic of sex on the mind, distracting children from academics. They're non-curricular related. Considering we have a current policy that prohibits other distracting non-curricular elements, why aren't these prohibited? At the last board meeting, I outlined some facts showing why affirming a minor's alternative identity is very harmful. Sweden, Finland, and the UK understand this, so they've stopped all medical transitioning for minors and its promotion. When will our schools follow the facts and stop harming children by promoting a flawed ideology? Some school administrators claim we must keep the stickers up because it's the only way those children can identify a safe location. So the rest of the school property is unsafe for children? That's the message. Here's an idea. Take the sexual propaganda out of the schools and put up signs that say, "Students, if you have any problems, please see the school psychologist." Problem solved. Even more disturbing is the actual teaching of CRT, critical race theory, which is a false ideology that teaches people to hate other races because supposedly all of our society is racist against non-white people. We know it's taught here because 1, we were told that our district follows the guidance of DPI, and 2, we found the guided process of CRT beliefs under the harmless sounding name of social emotional learning. Its kindergarten curriculum starts the little ones off by teaching them their identity in terms of race, gender, ethnicity, etc., dividing kids before they can even spell cat. How about schools being laser focused on teaching math, English, history, and life skills? Remove SEL, problem solved. Schools used to be a protective wall the parents could trust to keep their kids from harmful beliefs. Still true? We elected school board members to represent us, and we elected you for your good judgment based on facts and to educate our children. Thank you.
Brad?
Good evening. I'm not a resident of Oak Creek. I'm a founder and executive director of Courage MKE. I operate Wisconsin's first home for LGBT youth ages 12 to 17 that are not in their homes because their parents have rejected them. They were in their social welfare system for other reasons. In 1996, my parents moved our family to Oak Creek. I transferred schools from Rufus King High School in Milwaukee, and I went to Oak Creek High School. Starting on day 2, the letters in my locker started, "Faggot, get out." I lasted 2 weeks. My last day there was I had rocks pelted at me coming in from the bus. I walked home. The superintendent called me and said, "I have papers pushed on my desk every day." Not the same. I wish I could say I'm not surprised that my bullies back then are now here bullying my children. But as a member of the LGBT community, I'm not surprised. 9 out of 10 say students say they're out to their classmates. 92% of LGBT youth say they hear negative messages such as being called fag or dyke within their school building by other students. The top 3 places they have concerns with, number 3 is their peers, number 2 is the internet, and the number 1 fear for LGBT students is the school. LGBT youth in school, 65% have homophobic remarks made to them. 30% miss at least 1 day of school. I think I remember in 2020, there was a lot of protesting that every child deserves to be in school, not wear a mask, but be in school. 30% of these kids are not in school because they don't feel safe. 85% say they have been verbally harassed in the past year. Hostile school climates for LGBT students, the studies show lower GPAs, less likely to plan to go to college, and lower self-esteem. My stats are coming from the HRC, Human Rights Campaign. I leave you with this. You do fire drills. You do tornado drills. You probably have first responding teams in your schools. Twice a year, I get that dreaded email that my kindergartner or my 5th grader or my high schooler had to do an active shooter drill. And you do these to keep all kids safe. Today, I ask you, continue to do your job. Keep the stickers. Keep the books. They're not sexualizing. They're reminding you that we're here. Thank you.
Sorry. We had a not speak in the pile.
Next on the agenda here is Eugenia. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay. Apologize if I said it wrong.
It's Evgenia.
Oh, sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Evgenia Vaselenko, 3102 West Southland Drive, Franklin, Wisconsin. I was one of the members of Superintendent's Task Force on Books and Symbols. And tonight, first of all, I would like to provide feedback on it. And I want to thank for such an initiative and the opportunity to take part and try and make a positive change for the better of the learning community of our district. I think we can agree on that we all want the best for our children, and that was the total point of the task force meetings. While we achieved some results over the 7 meetings, I think that it wasn't used to its full potential, and we missed a great opportunity to bring people together and actually discuss the issues raised by the concerned parents and community members. We talked about why we were meeting and how we would communicate and what we would like to discuss, but never got to actually discussion, or were given very little time to present the information we collected on the topics. I also think that like our side presented by the parents and the community members we were rushed to evaluate and rate the recommendations, which were prepared as I think not as a result of work of all sides, but the school administration mostly, and again without having been given enough time to discuss the presented drafts. At one of the first meetings, it was said, during the upcoming meetings, we may find out we are not as much different as we may seem or think we are, but we never got to actually find out. I wish we had more time to actually speak and reach out to each other. It almost seemed like we were afraid to even start a conversation about controversial topics and possibly run into heated debates. However, I'm sure we would all still stay respectful and have an adult, meaningful discussions. I also wanted to touch upon the books and symbols, since these were the main topics of our meetings. Current board policies amply describe the material selection process and reconsideration. However, modern trends and movements make the process more challenging, and closer attention must be made to the content of the books. My suggestion to that would be to also rely on the community feedback and maybe create a newsletter about new additions to the library. And as for the symbols, which sparked controversy among the community, I would like to highlight that the board policy exists about student non-discrimination, anti-harassment, and anti-bullying. So let's work for the unite. All right, thank you.
Charlie Nash.
Charlie Nash, 1140 East Stonegate. I'm an Oak Creek resident, and I'm a parent of a 7-year-old. My husband and I moved to Oak Creek about 7 years ago, and I want it to be a place that we can raise a family. And it's this conversation right here that is making me worried. It's making me concerned. I'm a gay man, and it's taken me a while to work through that and accept that. When I was in high school, even acknowledging that to myself, to my family, even to the closest people in my life was impossible, much less at school. I hope you listen tonight to the voices of the people really affected by the removal of things like safe space stickers, rainbow flags. They do matter. They matter to our community. They matter to myself, my husband. They matter to the students. I contemplated suicide many times in my life. And it wasn't because I was gay, it's because society had me believe that it was wrong, and there was something wrong with me. I was damned to hell, that I could not, and I tried to fix it. I almost married this poor woman. And so this story's not about me, but I'm hoping you listen to the stories of people who are most affected by this, and I appreciate everyone's time, and I know everyone here loves their children. We want what's best for our children, and regardless of who they are, I'm hoping that you hear the stories, and I really want to strongly encourage the board to not take action. I think the moves made, such as school districts as Waukesha, we gotta look at that. That has garnered such negative national attention from many groups. I don't want Oak Creek to have, this is too good of a place, full of too many good people for us to figure out the right way forward. So I applaud the work of the committee that has done, I think, tried their best, and I think it's important for us as a community to continue to work forward, as opposed to bans, as opposed to things that feel draconian, and exclude opinions of groups and people, and also continue to persecute students who are the most affected, the ones who are bullied, the ones who are different. They do need extra support, and I appreciate your consideration of my thoughts today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going through the ones that do not want to speak, but I want to recognize that their comments are read. Next, John Brooks.
John Brooks, Deer Path Drive here in Oak Creek. I'm born and raised in this community. I believe in this school district. I encourage other people to move to this community, to be a part of the public schools. I respect people who disagree with me and have a different viewpoint. We care about every student in these schools. I just want to share my story. So my daughter came home in February, and we always read a book when she comes home from school. And so the book's name was Calvin. And so open it up, and immediately something just struck me that I need to look at the inside cover. And the cover explains that Calvin is a girl who knows deep down inside that she's really a boy. And so that was my daughter's first exposure to such an idea, and that book is available to kids as young as 4 years old. And then I read the other cover, and it said, this is written by J.R. Vanessa Ford, nationally known LGBTQ advocate. So it's not just literature, there's a purpose behind this book. And so I closed the book and I said, Morgan, we're not reading this. This is going straight back to the school. We don't believe this at all. We believe that God has made every single person in his image, and God doesn't make any mistakes when he creates anyone, male and female. There's a lot of faith in this community. And so every time we talk about symbols that affirm someone, it's poking the stick in the eye of someone else. There are thousands of families in this community who hold deeply held beliefs, believe in God, and it's not just Christians, it's other faiths as well. I'll say lastly this, when it comes to the symbols, we had Battle of the Books at East Middle School, and just walking through the hallways, some of the classrooms, again, most of the classrooms, transgendered flags and pictures of lots of people that should be admired. What stood out to me, there's not one picture of someone that would look like my kids held up in a positive light in that school, the whole school. The only picture that looked like my kids was of a bully, someone that's a bad person. And so I just want our schools to be neutral. I don't expect the schools to affirm my faith. I don't expect the schools to affirm my values, but I don't expect the schools to be antagonistic towards my faith. I expect the schools to be neutral, diverse places open to everyone. Thank you.
Laura Grawl. Laura? I'm sorry? Oh, okay. Andrew?
Andrew Stott, Kenosha. So I do think we started out the night quite right. Let's talk about equity versus equality. Do you know your own definitions? Do you share a third-party DEI trainings with Tosa East or the Wauwatosa School District? Because let's hear their definition of equity as told in the Human Growth and Development curriculum. And this is important because the first person came up here and said it's fairness. That's the mod. That's what they'll retreat to. This is what Wauwatosa actually defines equity as. The constant act of everyone engaging in purposeful, educational, social justice leadership to disrupt acts of injustice and dismantle systems of oppression and marginalization that produce disparities in our school. That's the definition of equity in Tosa. It is not fairness. So what is social justice leadership then? Social justice leadership, according to academic papers that I searched out, is the practice of keeping social justice as the main focus, which works to eliminate discrimination based on ethnicity or socioeconomic status by advocating for the fair and equitable treatment of all students during their educational experience. Now, that's a circular definition because equitable is in there. However, none of that is fairness. Even if we grant the mod of fairness, fair according to who? When do you know you've achieved fairness? By what measures? Is it before you, are you setting the measures before you look at a system or after? Are you using the Marxist ruthless critique of all that exists? Because you will find unfairness eventually. This is a definition all of you guys need to handle and write out so everyone knows what people are talking about when they say equity here. On that note, who certifies your librarian? Because I will know the American Library Association's president is a noted Marxist by her daughter on Twitter. You can find it that way. Have a good one, and I implore you to figure out your own definitions before they're used at this board. Thank you.
Jamie Hennessy. Hennessy. Hello.
Hi. Jamie Hennessy, Hales Corners resident, but I am an Oak Creek teacher, 3rd grade, Carrollton Elementary. What I'm going to read to you, I'm sure Superintendent Nerdle is very familiar with, but I want to remind the board and maybe inform the public. I have the Wisconsin Educator Standards up on my phone, and I just want to read 2 of the 10 standards to you. Oh no, this page went wrong. So, standard number 2 is learning differences. The teacher uses his or her understanding of individual pupil differences and diverse cultures and communities to ensure inclusive learning environments that enable each pupil to meet high standards. And standard 3, learning environments. The teacher works with others to create environments that support individual and collaborative learning and that encourage positive social interactions, active engagement in learning, and self-motivation. These are the standards that I'm evaluated on as a teacher each year. So when they say teach the basics, these are my basics. My basics are making sure every student in my 3rd grade class feels accepted and included. That includes my white, my black, my Indian, my Asian. That includes my Jehovah's Witness, my Muslim, my Christian, my atheist. But it also includes my student that has 2 dads. Because that's my basic, to ensure an inclusive environment for all of my students so they can learn at a high level and make a ton of growth in their academics every year because they know I care, love, see, and accept them. Thank you.
Matthew?
I guess first off, I was part of the Symbols Task Force.
Can you state? Yeah, can you?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I was part of the Symbols Task Force too.
Introduce yourself and your
I'm
address,
sorry.
please.
My name is Matt Bagansky, 1101 East Twin Oaks Drive. As part of that Symbols Task Force, first I guess I want to thank you guys for letting me be a part of that. I actually think we had some good discussions there. We discussed things that can be changed. We discussed things that could be done better. How important it is going to be to, I guess, re-educate, re-emphasizing some of the things we already have policies in place for, and maybe some tweaks to those. I have to say, as someone from outside, seeing this kind of play out, it's actually boosted my confidence in the school district. Seeing the leadership here, seeing some of the presentations from staff, and just seeing just the amazing job staff does here. I mean, I'm kind of blown away. But let's be honest, the symbol that is in our schools that parents here are really objecting to, it's the rainbow symbol, right? It's a symbol that's not making anyone turn gay. It's not doing that. It's not a pedophilia symbol like some have suggested. I mean, you can look that up. It's a symbol that's not causing a single student to feel less important. Not one. At least not one that I've heard from. If there is a student feeling that way, let's talk to them. Talk about why they feel that way. Are their parents coaxing them? Talk to them about suicide rates between students and students, LGBTQ youth. It's not a myth. Some people have suggested that, the numbers we get saying that it's an LGBTQ youth is more than 4 times more likely to commit suicide. That's not a myth. That's not made up. From my perspective, as someone working that responds to 911 calls when children are trying to do harm to themselves, I can tell you from my direct experience that I actually think it's higher than that. But what is the symbolism of scraping down some of these symbols that are in our schools that have been in some of the places for over a decade? What does that symbolism do to these students? It's not anything good. Not for our students. Some of the symbols are, well, okay. I guess, don't just do what the loudest voices in here are telling you to do. Do what's right by the community and what's right for the students here. Go with that middle of the ground option. I like the option of not advocating on those symbols to go to specific groups or to go to outside resources. Have the message on those symbols. Have them go to our school resources. We have our own psychologists and stuff in the schools. So that's what I advocate. You guys vote for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, that's all the comments that we have received. Any other questions? Nope. Well, every board member has received it, and we have read it. You have to kindly fill out the form.
She already filled out the form.
Oh, you can come up. I apologize. Ma'am, if you want to hand in yours, you can. Sorry, misunderstood.
No, sorry.
Yeah, we have 20 minutes left on the motion. So, ma'am, if I didn't start your clock, Sarah, I'll take. You're good.
Thank you.
All set?
Go ahead.
My name is Sarah Atkinson. I live in Caledonia, and I am a teacher at Carrollton Elementary. I also served on the task force, and I found it to be one of the most rewarding and challenging experiences of my professional career. I enjoyed it immensely. I was able to come in and hear other viewpoints from other teachers, people like our first speaker, Rhonda, not to call her out, but I really found a really good respect for her, and we're on very opposite ends of the spectrum, and I think that I can say that she probably got an understanding of me too, and I think as a community that is what we need to do. My issue is, my mother-in-law is lesbian. Like I have very, very close friends that are in the gay community and transgender. College roommate has a transgender, child. Like I'm not trying to put anything down. So please hear my message and don't connect dots that are not there. My issue is the school board policy that's in place about symbols and anything that's political or sexual or anything like that. I think we need to take a look at that and either everything goes or anything stays. I do identify as a Christian. I don't push my faith on anyone. I don't expect anybody to affirm that. But I will say on the record, I feel like as a Christian in a public school, my hands are tied because there are a lot of students, and I don't know what they're going through, but there's times where I'm like, oh man, I wish I could just pray for that kid. It's just breaking my heart. And I know I can't do that. So if there's a safe space sticker for, LGBTQ students, I almost wish that I could have a little tiny one in my room that was just a little prayer hands that said, ask mom and dad, can Miss Atkinson say a prayer for you? Not a salvation prayer, nothing like that. Just, if they're dealing with anxiety or things like that. And I know that probably sounds foolish because it's a public school, but this is public, and I'm going on record to say, parents, if you want your child to have an advocate and support for somebody who will not judge them and just care for them, that I am that person, but I don't have a sticker on my door. So thank you for your time.
I don't know if you came in late, but 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll raise my hand to give you a warning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am Mary Freilich. I live right off of Quincy in Oak Creek. I was born in this community, raised in this community, and am raising 2 beautiful black boys in this community. So when I say that I come from a point of being an ally for life, that's what I mean. So our family allies pretty darn hard and believes that students should be allowed to express themselves through rainbows or flags that are representative of the LGBTQIA community. When I attended school at Oak Creek many years ago, there were not safe spaces, and it was felt. Students felt, in some cases, unsafe, and in many cases were called names that were derogatory that I won't mention again, because they carry such hurtful connotations. They are on high alert, and students that feel unsafe are not going to learn. That's the point. We want our kids to learn. So, to make sure that we are doing our best for our kids, we want to make sure that for their academic success, that those symbols are there to demonstrate that they are not only accepted, they are safe. As was previously mentioned, 90% of the LGBTQ youth have reported being bullied and feeling unsafe in schools. What's unique about Wisconsin is we actually have not a terrible HRC score, and that's the Human Rights Campaign. This is something that every state is judged by. And according to a 2017 UCLA study conducted of the United States population, Wisconsin actually has 3 to 5% of people that identify as LGBTQIA. And who knows by now how many more people that is. What I'm trying to say is be careful who you hate. It could be somebody you love. So banning such symbols of acceptance, love, and safety would set us back in terms of progress and school safety. It would be nice to hear that Oak Creek, after such a vote, would be a shining example of our state's motto, which is forward. So please continue to allow students and teachers to express themselves in a safe, free speech manner. Thank you.
To address the board, just need to kindly yellow sheet. We have about 7 more minutes.
Scroll, what do you need?
Okay, so you want to come back up?
Frank's just going to make a change on your sheet and check speak, okay?
Go ahead.
All right, my name is Laura Grawl. I live at 6420 South Crapaud Court in Oak Creek. I have 3 children in the Oak Creek School District. I just wanted to speak from the heart and say, as a mother and a parent in the Oak Creek School District, that I want every child to feel safe and feel that they have a place to go to and not have to single out certain groups that can cause division and conflict. It doesn't belong in our schools. It never did. And we need to keep it just about the children, an equal opportunity for all. We're not saying that we want to have a symbol that is going to be hateful towards any type of group. We just want to include all children, something that is united for everyone, not singling out just one particular group. It's not fair to anyone. That could cause conflict, and it's just causing more problems. Why can't we just have our children all feel united and loved as one and not have to have any type of symbolism except for the United States of America flag or a smiley face or something that's going to not single or target one group? They should all feel that they have a place to go to. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anybody else need to come up? Mrs. Grundy.
Come on, Mrs.
Mark
Grundy,
Carroll.
your turn. Sure. Right after Mrs. Grundy, okay? I'll take it.
Go ahead, Carol.
Now, I hope you can hear me. I can't hear myself. Can you turn it up a little? I want him to hear me.
I think he's got it as loud as it can go.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
You're doing well.
I forgot what I wanted to talk about. First of all, I can't believe I'm hearing there's symbols and signs and stuff around the schools. I thought that was all going to be cleaned out so that children don't have to be having this pounded on them and being indoctrinated from symbols that their parents may not want them to be indoctrinated to. I was told that part should come from the parents. The parents should be teaching the children values and the children what they should believe in, not the schools. The schools are here to educate the children. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I can't hear myself. Anyway, I did hear one parent called me and talked about Furbies being in the high school. I don't know what Furbies are, but they said they wear tails. They're girls, and they wear tails, and they wear a cat hat, and they have a litter box in the girls' restroom. I don't think that should be allowed in school, in high schools, or in any school.
I'm not supposed to say anything, but I just want to be very clear that there aren't litter boxes in any of our bathrooms. Okay,
well,
I'm not supposed to speak, and I'm not going to speak anymore. But I just want to be very clear that there are no litter boxes.
Told this by a junior, a girl.
I'm sorry, ma'am. That's not the case.
Okay. I like the lady just said before. School should be for learning and not for educating them and all this other stuff that is going on in the world. We want to have, like she said, the United States of America, not this group and that group. Why do these kids even have to learn about these groups? Why can't they just all go to school to learn? Why do we have and say the Pledge of Allegiance in the schools rather than, I don't even know if they say that anymore. But it's just getting so frustrating with what I'm hearing, and it seems like you guys aren't doing anything about it. And all the gay people, well, fine, if you're gay, you're gay. I mean, I didn't grow up too much with gays, so I don't know. But we have a few in the relation now. So, but I don't think all the other children should have to be taught about that. They should be polite and courteous to them and not pick on them, and I think I heard that was what's happening. But that should be corrected. But the school should be all about learning, not about sex and sex education and this kind of thing. Thanks.